Do you tip in the direction of glass half full or glass half empty when faced with a challenge? An optimistic outlook is proven to enhance our well-being and put a cork into our Debbie Downer thinking. Today's guest, Lauren O'Reilly, shares how her glass half full attitude and mindset have been invaluable in healing and in life. I'm excited to introduce her, so let's get started. Welcome to the Youthful Older Yogi podcast. I'm MJ Waddell, your yogi host and founder of Share Yoga. I've been practicing, teaching, and loving yoga for over 25 years. I'm an advocate of movement, creativity, and staying healthy in mind and body after 50. And so are my guests. It's never too late to start, and there's a lot of healthy years ahead. So let's start now. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Youthful Older Yogi. I'm MJ Waddell from Share Yoga. I'm very excited about today's episode. I call it Mindset Miracles. And I have a really amazing woman on today. She's a friend. She's was a student of mine at yoga when she was pregnant. And I love it when students become friends. We're also business partners. And she's just an inspiration. And I wanted to share her story so possibly you can absorb it and put into practice how she deals with mindset and how powerful it can be. She's just a beacon of light. So Lauren, thank you so much for being here on the podcast. I know you're a very busy human. You're a mom, you're a business owner, you're a full-time school teacher. Today you had to take your son to some type of sports practice. You're also an advocate for some medical conditions, which we'll get to a little later. And so, but first, I just want to say thank you again for being on the podcast.
Yes, you're so welcome. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. Anything that you're a part of, I'm always a yes for. Just love you so much.
Thank you. I love you back. Okay, we're going to get right into it. Mindset. We hear it all the time and how beneficial it can be. But can you share with us what mindset is to you, and when did you first become aware of your own mindset and the power of it?
Yeah. So for me, when I think mindset, I think of just that set of beliefs that shape how you make sense of the world, right? But also make sense of yourself. I go right to teacher mode, what I teach my third graders, that whole fixed mindset versus the growth mindset, right? And, for me, I don't know if I was always aware of my mindset. I was always the type of kid growing up that if I had something in my mind that I wanted to do, I was going to do it and I was going to get it done. And it didn't matter what was happening in my mind, I was going to get it done. And I think that part of me has always been in there. I just didn't realize it was that positive mindset, right? That go-getter, that if I believe it, and I really think I can do it, I'm going to do it. And I think that I've always had that in me since I was a little kid. My mom would always be like, "Oh, you were so stubborn. You got something in your head. You were not resting until you did it or you accomplished it or you bought it or whatever it may be." So that's just a part of who I am. And I think as I've grown, now I'm 40, just had that milestone birthday. I think I found that my mindset has evolved so much, and I'm just so much more aware of it and how it just fosters my everyday decisions, in all aspects of my life. So
yeah, and the power of it is really, it's immense, the power of it. So I also have students. I teach improv to 11 and 12-year-olds, and as a mindset, right? It's a group mindset. And we always try to look at the positive, always the positive. So I'm trying to incorporate that into their expanding brains.
Yes, because it's at that age that their brains are growing, they're experiencing life, right? And it's in those moments where we can model that, right? We can be that model for them.
Correct. And I feel we learn our mindsets from our environments and our experiences and upbringings. So you just said you feel you're more aware of it now, but you always had a positive mindset, which is wonderful. And I want to talk about another term that we use quite frequently, do the work. I'm like, oh
Yes.
God. Oh my God, are you kidding me? Do the work. I'm exhausted. Do I have to do more work? So what does that mean? What does do the work mean to you? I mean, to me, I know it means looking inward, but what does it do? What does it mean to you? And how do you actually do it when they say do the work?
I love that. I love it. When you first said that, what comes to mind to me is I think just like society today, I feel like we wear hard work and just struggle as like this badge of honor, right? Like, oh, I worked this amount of hours, I stayed up this late, I did all of this. And it's like almost as a society, we feel like we have to go through all of this and like burn ourselves out, before you can really shine or achieve that goal. And that's just not true. And that's just not necessary, and I truly believe that. I believe the work is just following your heart. The work is what feels good. The work is when you have a million things to do and you're feeling tired, you take a nap, you rejuvenate, you meditate, you do a little yoga, you go for a run, and then you reset and you get back to business. It's just listening to yourself. And I think so often, I know for myself, being a full-time teacher, being a mom, running my Rodan Fields business at night, I used to stay up. I used to work crazy hours, MJ. I would be, and I loved it though. I was so passionate. I love what I do in all aspects. There was just not enough time in the day. I had to get it all done. I had to work hard, and I achieved a lot of goals, and I was so proud of myself, and it felt so good. But it wasn't sustainable. You can't work like that and run yourself ragged forever. You're going to burn yourself out, which I did. And it is then that I learned to look within, right? Listen to my inner being, listen to myself, and to know that I can work smarter. I don't have to work that hard. I can be mindful about the choices I make, how I spend my time. And as soon as I made that shift and I really just got quiet and listened, I was led to take that inspired action in a way. So where I'd be up for 4, 5, 6 hours at night, doing all of this stuff, spinning my wheels, tired, drinking coffee, drinking wine, doing all the things, right? Instead, when I just said, okay, I have this hour, I want to accomplish this. Like, what is going to feel good? What feels right? Because we have the answers inside of us. We know what we need to do. We just need to follow our heart. So I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot. And that is where I am now. If you would have asked me that maybe 4 years ago, my answer probably would have been very different.
Well, I've watched you succeed because Lauren and I are in business together. And this is not a plug for Rodan Fields, but I do love the products, and so does Lauren. We bonded because we both had acne stories, the same type of acne stories, and skin was very important to us. Anyway, but I've seen your progression, and she's one of the top leaders in the business. And speaking of knowing that you don't have to work as hard, so when I started this podcast, I decided I'm only going to do 2 a month. And people are like, oh, to be successful, you have to do at least once a week, twice a week. I'm like, are you insane? Like, I don't even know what I'm doing. First of all, I have to look so, but and I'm much older now, and I'm like, I value my time. And again, I'm not going to do something that doesn't fulfill me. And so you were fulfilled while you were working for those goals, but now it's like, yeah, you can't just, because I've done it too. When I was younger, go, 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 achieve, achieve, achieve,
Yeah.
which I did. And now it's like, I don't really have an achievement for this except to just interview wonderful people like you and hopefully spread some positive messages about yoga and about aging and about advocating for movement and mindset and all of that. So thank you for sharing that. As I mentioned in the introduction, you're an advocate for a few medical challenges that you have, and I it's amazing. So you have celiac,
Yeah.
Hashimoto's, and achalasia. Am I saying it correctly? So
Yeah.
please, and you're free to talk about and you actually you educate people about it, which I
Yeah.
really admire. So tell us a little bit about any of those and how you have dealt with it. What is it? How has it framed your life and your movement and all of that?
So it's whenever I get asked that question just about my health in general, it's like, where do you begin? Because it's been kind of like a chain reaction. So really, really long story, very short. When I was 5, I had celiac disease and I didn't know it. So I went from the time I was 5 years old all the way up until I was 22. And I was in pain. I was sick. My stomach was hurting. I was throwing up. I had, you know, bathroom issues up the yin yang. It was insane. And, thinking about how we started our conversation around mindset, I was always talking to myself, like, you're going to be okay. You can do this. You can do this. There's a bathroom here. Like, it's okay. Just be careful with what you're eating or don't eat and you'll feel okay. You'll eat later. I was always doing that self-talk
Mhm.
because I didn't know that my body could not digest gluten. And I didn't find that out until I was after college, about 22. So because I went undiagnosed for so long, once I finally found out I needed to be gluten free, what a blessing. What an easy fix. Just eat gluten free. There's no meds, there's no surgery. It's nothing crazy. It's just a diet change. I was so grateful. I was so happy. I finally started eating gluten free. And 3, 4 months in, I was like, this is how everybody feels. Like, I feel good. Like, I feel amazing. I went so long not feeling well. But unfortunately, what happened is my body was trained to attack itself because celiac disease is an autoimmune condition.
Wanted to pop in to thank you for listening to the Youthful Older Yogi. It's season 2, and I'm so excited to bring you more great guests, education, and ways for you to stay youthful in mind and body after 50. If you love the show and want to help me make it even better, please consider becoming a supporter. You get to choose how much and how often you give, and there's no commitment. And remember, I donate a portion of every dollar I receive to charity. For 2024, I've chosen UNICEF. Just click the support button in the show notes. And just as helpful is sharing the show with other youthful older yogis. Thank you again so much for listening. And now let's get back to the podcast.
So then my body started attacking different organs, and I developed other diseases because of that. And one of the biggest, most life-changing ones is achalasia, which is my esophagus disease. So my esophagus it just kind of sits there. When everyone else chews and saliva is happening, peristalsis makes your esophagus move food through to your belly. Mine just sits there. Mine does not move. So it is very painful to get food from my mouth into my belly. I've had a surgery for that, and it did give me my life back. And it's just been a lot, a lot with what I've dealt with physically, mentally. And I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice. I had to focus on what was thriving, even in those darkest moments when I was a kid, as an adult, before my surgeries. I had to focus what was thriving because not everything was falling apart. My esophagus wasn't working, but you know what? My brain was, right? Other aspects were working. I was still functioning. There was so much to be grateful for. And I found myself, really just waking up every single day, fortunate to be alive, fortunate to have another day here. Life is a journey. And I truly believe that all these health conditions and everything that my body has been through wasn't happening to me, but happening for me to just move me forward on where I'm supposed to be in life. And it's taught me so much. I've met so many amazing people just through different communities and doctor's appointments and all of that. And it's shaped me into who I am. And honestly, if I could turn back time, I really wouldn't do anything differently because this is who I am and this is my body. And I think I just constantly going back to there's always something to appreciate and knowing that we only get one body. So to tie into your movement comment, I think my moments of when I was laid up after surgery or unable to, do yoga or run, I'm a runner, I love running. In those moments when I couldn't move, I would look over at my husband who could totally go out and move, go for a run, go to a yoga class, do anything he wants to do, and he wouldn't. And I'm like, you have this amazing, healthy body. and you could go out and move and you're not. And I'm sitting here recovering from surgery, just wishing I could lace up and go for a long run, you know? And it's in those moments of like, it's almost taken away from you that when I'm good and I'm feeling healthy, I'm out there. I'm going to that class. I'm going for a run because I know how precious life is. I know how precious health is. And when you are healthy, seize it, embrace it. You just got to find what you love to do, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And I have not had very many medical, challenges, but I did when I detached a hamstring and they said you can't do anything except walk for at least 6 months. I had to find the gratitude. I can still walk.
Yes. Yes.
My hamstring actually healed. But the first is I can't do yoga for 6 months. I actually didn't do it for 8 months. No
Yeah.
yoga, no physical, only walking, nothing else. So and that's why my platform is movement. Just keep moving because your body is meant to move. And this body is a gift. It's going to have challenges. We all do. And I just love your mindset. And you'd shared a story with me about were looking at some old gratitude journals as you were packing up your house to make a move, and they were filled, and then you found one when you were recovering, and I think you said today I could swallow or something, or
Yeah.
it's like I'm
Yes.
grateful for it. And so we really, and what I try to just let people know that our bodies are miracles. They
Yes.
are miracles, right?
Yes.
And they want to heal, and and your body has done so well for you, even with all your challenges. But it's with a mindset too.
Yeah, I was gonna say too, you know, with every challenge I've faced with my health or every diagnosis or oh, you have to have this surgery. I can picture so many times sitting, you know, in the ER, they were like, you know, you have to have surgery. This is the only option. I was just crying and crying. But then there's that moment where you release those emotions, right? Because we're human. We have to feel those emotions. We have to release it. We have to cry about it. We have to bitch about it a little bit,
But you
right?
go,
And then
why?
right. And get it out. And then from there, and then I decide that it's going to be okay. I decide the surgery is going to be amazing. I decide the nurses are going to be fantastic. I decide my recovery. They tell me it's going to be 3 weeks. I decide I'm going to feel better in a week and a half. And it's like, you make the choice. You're in charge of you. You know, I say it to my third graders every day. You're in charge of you, nobody else.
Yeah.
And you just decide. And I think I'm going to share this with you that I'm going to be getting a tattoo with the word decide. And I'm
Oh,
literally putting it right here on my arm to remind me and just through all aspects of life that life isn't happening to me, it's happening for me, and that I get to decide how it goes. I'm in charge. My thoughts become my reality, whether it's health, whether it's business, whether it's any aspect. And I know that. And because I've done it, I've gone through things health wise where they were like, that shouldn't have been possible. But it always seems to work out for you, Lauren. I'm like, do you want to know why it works out for me? Because I believe it is going to. I don't marinate in the negative. I don't marinate and research what's wrong with me or what could go wrong with the surgery or the percentage that my esophagus may not work. I don't even go there. I'm just forward thinking. I decide it's going to be amazing, and it is, and it always is. And when you hit those bumps, you're going to hit the bumps. That's when you pivot. That's when you reset, you know, and you get back to what your baseline of what you know you need to be doing. And for me, that's running, that's yoga, and that's meditating. So,
yeah. I want to talk a little bit about meditation because I meditate daily. Sometimes it's not, I don't sit on a cushion. I can be outside in a movement meditation. I walk on the beach a lot. I'm blessed to live block from the beach. Sometimes I just go sit in a chair outside and just enjoy nature. And so meditation, it seems like everybody, I've heard it a million times. I can't meditate because I can't turn off my mind. I'm like, you're never going to turn off your mind. If you turn
right,
off your
right.
mind, you'll be dead. Your mind has to keep working to keep us alive. What it is,
Yes.
I keep saying is you learn awareness. That's what meditation is. You learn awareness. So, and you were doing yoga and then you became a mom and lots of other things. But right now is your running part of your meditation? Is that how you meditate, or do you do other types of meditation?
So for me, I have to share this quick story. My first time really being introduced to meditating and like really in a moment where we were like sitting meditating was with you at a restaurant after we did some amazing yoga experience at Simply Crepes. And I just remember sitting and you were leading us in a meditation. And I remember like opening one eye being like, what is everybody doing? What's happening? I'm like, it was just a wild, that was like my first like real meditating experience with the group. Because in yoga at the end, of course you're laying in Shavasana and you're, experiencing um that piece then. But that was my first moment. So I always think about you, MJ, when I think of meditation. You were like my real first introduction to it. But now what I do, one, running is just a way for me to quiet my mind. And it just depends. Some days I'm like listening to music, some days I'm lost in my thoughts. Other days I just shut off my mind and I just focus on the beauty around me. And the sun, the warmth, the trees, the dog, like, and I just focus on other things. But what I have found once I'm done moving, I love to just come and maybe do like 5-10 minutes of stretching, a little bit of some yoga poses, and then I just get quiet and I sit and I close my eyes and because I cannot walk on the beach, I go into one of the apps that has like the sound of the ocean and I play that for 10-15 minutes and I just focus on that. I don't worry about turning off my mind. Like you said, my mind's off, I'm dead.
Yeah.
Right, right. I just listen and I focus on the waves and then and it's in those moments of just peace where I'm directing my thoughts to listening to the ocean and just getting lost in that. I find that after when I come out of it, it's just that sense of just like just peace and calm and it just feels so good. And it's then in those moments at the end that I sometimes get my best ideas of like what I'm gonna do next. Oh, I'm gonna do that, or I'm gonna talk to this person or
Yep.
whatever it may be. It's like when you get I think sometimes people think like you're gonna meditate and it's gonna be like some amazing experience. Like, yes, it does feel good, but it's really what happens during and then most likely after, right? And those moments after, those days after. Other times I meditate are in the morning. My alarm will go off. I'll sit up in bed. I'll make sure I keep an alarm on in case I doze back to sleep, but I sit. And sometimes I'll listen to like some affirmations and just kind of sit and meditate for a few minutes, just sharing my appreciation, for my life and for the day and for my body. And I love setting the tone that way too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It can spark creativity. That's what
yes,
that's what meditation does. Sometimes when I feel overwhelmed, that's when I'm like, okay, I got to go walk it out. I got to just sit down, be quiet. And then all the chaos doesn't seem to be as chaotic. So
right.
I advocate for meditation and everybody should do it. Well, you just turned 40, so happy birthday. And
Thank you.
you ran a half marathon to celebrate your
I
40th
did.
birthday. You shared with me what happened towards the end. I'd love for you to share it with our listeners.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I know. All my friends are like throwing parties, surprise parties, this, that. And they're like, Lauren, what do you want to do? I'm like, I want to run a half marathon. They're like, and that they know it's me. They know it's me. So I made the decision to ring in 40. My birthday happened to fall on a Saturday. I found a half marathon in Naples, Florida. So Sean and I flew down, and the beach, the ocean is just my happy place. And I wanted to ring in 40 doing all the things I loved. So I've run multiple half marathons before. I'm a long distance runner. I'm not out to win it. I'm out to enjoy it. So I'm slow paced. And it's just really just such a passion of mine. And it just brings me so much joy. So I'm out there in the Florida heat. September 2nd is my birthday. So, it's in Florida, MJ. You're down there. It is hot. And everyone before I left was like, Lauren, it's so hot. How are you going to do this? How are you going to do this? And, running is, when it comes to running, your mindset is so key with running too. You can totally get runner's block and shoot yourself in the foot and not be able to finish a race if you get too in your head. But I always know in my heart that my mind is so powerful and I'm in charge of my body and my body doesn't get to shut down. It does not, because I know it doesn't need to. I know that it is capable, right? So everybody was saying it's so hot. How are you going to do this? I'm like, I'm going to do this. And I did it. I went out and I was running, and the first, 6, 7 miles were going good. When I hit around mile 8, and the race started at 8. So by mile 8, the sun is up, it's getting hot, and it's hot. And they had water stations, they had ice, and I'm hitting mile 9, and I'm like, oh no, I was chilly. I was getting like goosebumps, like the chills almost. And I know from running races with some of my friends before that can be a sign of heat stroke.
Yeah.
I've never experienced it. But I've been with people running races where that's happened. It's never happened to me. So I felt it. And I remember just as I'm like going, and I'm like, I can choose right now. I can choose to decide this is heat stroke and let it stop my race and walk off and say I can't do this. Or I can channel that energy in a different way and say, you know what? Those are goosebumps, being really excited about, you're almost at the end of this damn race, and you got a nice cocktail waiting for you on the beach, and your yummy dinner tonight, and you're just really excited. And that's what these feelings are. That's what these goosebumps are. You're not cold. It's not heat stroke. And I made a choice, MJ. In that moment, I decided that I was fine. I decided that I was going to cool myself off. Like, part of my logical brain was like, no, really, you're going to have heat stroke. I'm getting ice. I'm putting ice down my sports bra. I'm dumping water over my head. I was running with 2 like bottles of water because they had like little stations. And I just kept putting them on me, and it would cool me off for about 5-10 minutes. And then the bumps would come back. And then I was like, no, this is just amazing energy. I'm going to use this to help me channel it and like finish it. And I finished strong. And when I crossed that finish line, I went over. I can't even begin to tell you how I felt. Just the accomplishment of it was one of the most challenging things I have ever done in my life. And I've done a lot of different things. But I felt so proud. And looking back, it's in those moments that we can decide. You are in charge. Like, you can make that decision to keep going or to stop. And it was the perfect way to run and ring in 40. I may have been like barely walking for 2 days after, but whatever, it was fine.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And that's why I'm calling this episode the Mindset Miracle, because it is. And that's such a testament to how you move through your life. And it's very admirable. So I want to know how you feel about midlife.
I feel amazing. I feel amazing. I am the absolute best version of myself. I am taking on 40 with this like excitement and just energy that there's so much ahead of me. And I have all of my memories, my past, my experiences, all of that, right? In my heart. I've grown so much, and I'm just so excited for what's to come, just personally, professionally, just in life in general. And I know so many of my friends, because we're all turning 40 right now, we're like, oh, we're getting old, this and that. And I'm like, I don't look at it like that. It's not about getting old. This is a journey. This is why we're here. We're here to learn and grow, right? And if anything, you couldn't pay me to go back to be in my 20s again. I don't want to be. I love who I am right now. I love who I've become. And I'm excited for this new decade. So
I love
I'm
to hear you
excited.
speak like that, because when you get in my contemporaries in the 50s and 60s, they say, I'm old, I'm old. I'm like, that's your mindset.
Yeah.
That's your
Yeah.
mindset. So to me, I'm like,
Yes.
I am a youthful, older yogi,
Yeah.
youthful first. And
Yes,
it's,
you are.
I'm so glad I'm still around and still have so much more. I look forward to it. So thank you for that. Okay, let's talk
Yeah.
about yoga briefly. How did you come to find yoga?
I came to find yoga when it was 2010, and I had a really big panic attack. And my doctor listed some different things. And at that point, I was running, and she said yoga can be really good. So I can still picture Googling, where should I do yoga? And I found a studio where I went to one of Erica's classes, and I fell in love. I fell in love, but I sought it out because of the anxiety and panic attacks I was going through at that point in time. And I didn't want to have to medicate. I wanted to be able to find other ways to manage those emotions and those feelings that didn't involve prescription. So I did, and I found that yoga was a beautiful complement to my running.
Yeah.
That stretching and all of that made me a stronger runner. And it also gave me that, because running is very like, it's a solitary type of sport or activity. So going to yoga, I felt that community. I met so many amazing people. And I have to tell you, I was doing yoga, as you know, MJ, until like 4 days before my son was born.
I
I was like
know.
9 months pregnant, following him.
I know you'd come in
And
and be like, "Oh my God, you're still here!" I like, does anybody know how
I
to
know,
deliver a baby just in case?
I know, and during my pregnancy, oh my goodness, it was just such a safe place for me, and it helped me so much during labor and delivery. Just the breathing and all of that. And I think the biggest gift of all is the community. That's how I met you, and here we are all these years later, right? And it's
I know.
just
Yeah, amazing.
yoga is the best. And my yoga practice has ebbed and flowed. Now I kind of do more at home because of that's where my life is. But that's another plug, that it doesn't matter the time you have. You can do yoga, you can work out and make it work for you. You don't need to go to a studio. You can do it in your basement. You can do it outside. You don't need to pay any money to do it, right?
I know.
So
I believe me, I advocate for that all the time. We're taping this in November of 2023. This episode won't come out until the new year. So I know it's a little early, but do you have any new mindset or mantras for 2024?
okay, I love that. Yes, because you know me, always forward thinking and always just like casting that vision. I am in a crazy phase right now. We're house hunting. So we're kind of trying to find our not forever home, our dream home, I'm going to call it. And I'm in this place of just unknown right now. So my word for as we end this year and go into 2024 is just clarity. I want to just keep looking for that clarity in every decision I make, just clarity in all aspects of my life, whether it be, personally with our house hunting, my marriage, my business, with teaching, just like constantly searching for that clarity to make sure that I'm doing exactly what feels right for me in my heart. So clarity is my word for 2024.
I love it. I love it. And we also, in the next season or this season that everyone's seen this episode, I just want to know if you can share with me one of your favorite poses, and then I'm going to do a little freebie for people on my newsletter about that pose. So is there any specific pose that you like or that helps with your running? Anything?
Yes. Okay. And this is funny. I will literally during races, like during half marathons, I like run over to the side and quick do a little downward facing dog. Got to do it. It's that pose. I am telling you, in the moment, MJ, when I am running, or even when I get back from running, it's just, I will just like rock in that pose for a few minutes. And you'll know it's me when you see someone veer off on a race, quick do some downward dog and then jump back in. It's just such a great stretch. I think just for the legs. I don't even know what it's stretching, but it feels so good as a runner. You would know more about that.
Stretching your whole back body. It's incredible. Okay, great. Thanks. Downward facing dog. So that's going to be my little share snippet later. Okay. And this is a question that I ask all my guests. Usually the question is, as we wrap up, usually the people say, "Oh, what would you tell your younger self, knowing all that you know now and all the experiences that you had?" But I like to rephrase it, knowing everything that you know now and all of your life experiences, what would you like to tell your future self?
Ooh, my future self. You know what? I think what I would tell my future self is the same thing I would tell my younger self. I think I would just say, it's going to be okay. Enjoy the ride. It's going to be okay.
Love it.
Because it always is okay. So it's going to be okay, and enjoy the ride because it's a wild one.
Oh, yes, it is. Well, Lauren, again, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to be on the Youthful Older Yogi. You are a beacon of light, like I said. I just love your energy. I know we've been apart in, miles, but I just think you're tops. So thank you for being on the podcast.
Anything for you.
I
Yes.
love
I
you.
love you. I miss you. And it just shows our friendship is forever. We haven't seen each other and talked in years. We get on, it's like not a day's passed.
I love it. Yes. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining, and keep sharing yoga. Thanks so much for listening. You can find me and subscribe for more youthful and healthy information on my website, shareyogawithmj.offeringtree.com. Or if you know how to navigate social media, find me on Facebook /Mary Jane Waddell. That's Jane with a Y, Jayne. And Instagram at Mary Jane Waddell. Remember, Jane with a Y. Now, this podcast would not be possible without my youthful older producer, editor, and creative friend, Andrea Canny. And you can find Andrea at Andrea Canny, that's CANNY.com. And of course, thanks to my generous guests who've shared their time and youthful wisdom. Remember, the Youthful Older Yogi podcast is presented solely for educational, inspirational, and entertainment purposes. It's not intended as a substitute for a physician or other qualified professionals. Okay, yogis, stay well and stay youthful.